On June 11, 2025, Dutch Bros, Oregon's homegrown coffee powerhouse valued at $11.8 billion, shocked its own backyard by announcing it would move its headquarters to Arizona. For the first time in generations, a company born and raised in Oregon chose to leave the state behind. The announcement landed at a moment when nearly 68% of local businesses were already considering relocation, and Oregon's business rankings were sliding fast. The question immediately followed: was this simply a strategic move by a growing company, or was it another sign that Oregon is slowly driving its biggest success stories away? To understand how it reached this point, the story goes back more than 3 decades to a single coffee cart. In 1992, brothers Travis and Dane Boersma opened a small stand in Grants Pass, Oregon. Their idea was straightforward: serve good coffee, stay friendly, and show up every day no matter the weather. The cart quickly became a local hangout in the timber town, and word spread faster than they expected. Before long, Dutch Bros expanded beyond Grants Pass, opening drive-through stands in cities like Eugene, Salem, and Portland. Each location carried the same blue windmill logo and the same upbeat, welcoming energy. Expansion didn't happen all at once. It came in steady waves. As the years passed, Dutch Bros grew beyond its small-town beginnings. In 2021, the company reached a major milestone when it went public on the New York Stock Exchange. Its stock jumped more than 60% after the initial offering, pushing the company's valuation close to $12 billion. At the time, it ranked second only to Nike among Oregon-based companies. It was clear proof that a local idea could scale nationally without losing its identity. The numbers reflect that momentum. By mid-2025, Dutch Bros operated more than 1,000 locations across 18 states, with nearly 90 stores in Arizona alone. Revenue climbed to $1.3 billion in 2024, marking a 33% increase from the previous year. The company projected another 22% growth in the year ahead. Dutch Bros now employs roughly 26,000 people and has outlined plans to reach 4,000 locations over the next 10 to 15 years. For many people in Oregon, Dutch Bros has always been more than a successful company. It built its name around community involvement and giving back. Every May, Dutch Bros locations across the country host Drink One for Dane, an annual fundraiser that has generated millions of dollars for ALS research. The event honors co-founder Dane Boersma, who died from the disease. Over 3 decades, Dutch Bros came to represent something deeper than profit. It stood as a symbol of Oregon-grown determination and generosity, proof that a small local idea could grow nationwide without leaving its values behind. That sense of continuity began to shift in early 2024. In January, Dutch Bros announced a change in leadership. Christine Barone, an Arizona native with extensive experience in the food and beverage industry, was named President and Chief Executive Officer. Unlike previous leaders, Barone operated from Arizona from her first day on the job. The decision was subtle, but it marked a clear change in how the company was being run. Within months, Dutch Bros disclosed plans to move roughly 40% of its corporate workforce to the Phoenix area. The company secured an entire building at Liberty Center at Rio Salado in Tempe, covering more than 136,000 square feet. It became one of Arizona's largest office leases that year. Company leadership said the move was strategic. Executives explained that it would place key teams closer to the company's fastest-growing regions, including Texas and the Southeast, while offering better access to a major airport for national travel. At the time, Dutch Bros maintained that its headquarters would stay in Oregon. Press statements released in mid-2024 described the Tempe expansion as a support hub for growth rather than a replacement for its roots in Grants Pass. But for longtime employees, the shift felt more significant than the language suggested. Core leadership and strategic decision-making were now centered nearly 1,000 miles away. Local business leaders began to acknowledge the change. Terry Hopkins, Chief Executive Officer of the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce, said the community would feel the impact, even though roasting operations and retail stands would remain in place. By early 2025, the Tempe office was fully operational, and hundreds of Dutch Bros employees had already relocated. The roasting facility in Grants Pass stayed open, along with some support roles, but the company's center of gravity had clearly begun to move. It was becoming increasingly clear that the company's identity was changing. For the first time in its 33-year history, the future of Dutch Bros was no longer being shaped inside Oregon. A new chief executive officer based in Arizona, a major real estate commitment in Tempe, and the gradual relocation of corporate staff all pointed to a headquarters in transition. What had started quietly was now moving towards something official. That shift did not stay confined to the corporate world for long. The conversation quickly moved from boardrooms into the state capitol. Oregon's Senate Republican leader Daniel Bonham responded bluntly. On the day the move was confirmed, he said Dutch Bros did not leave by coincidence. According to Bonham, the company was pushed out by a state that penalizes success, places heavy burdens on employers, and drives opportunity elsewhere. He described the departure as the result of failed leadership. His remarks focused on high taxes, extensive regulations, and a legislature he characterized as unfriendly to job creators. Those comments struck a chord with many business owners who had just watched one of Oregon's most valuable companies relocate its headquarters after 3 decades. Dutch Bros had ranked second only to Nike among Oregon-based businesses, and its exit carried symbolic weight well beyond the coffee industry. Democratic lawmakers offered a more measured response. Representative Daniel Nguyen told local media that Oregon's culture of innovation was still intact. At the same time, he acknowledged that retaining homegrown companies had become increasingly difficult. He urged renewed efforts to keep businesses rooted in the state and to create conditions that support long-term growth. Even so, the underlying message was hard to miss. Supporters of Oregon's business environment could no longer overlook the growing number of companies choosing to leave. Dutch Bros was far from the only example. Gelvin, once based in Klamath Falls, moved its headquarters to North Carolina. Owens Corning shut down its Prineville facility, eliminating 184 jobs. In Portland, the Pearl District lost its REI co-op location. Adobe vacated its downtown offices. Keen Footwear closed its Swan Island factory. These departures represented more than entries on a balance sheet. This steady outflow is quietly weakening community institutions across the state. Business leaders and analysts point to a combination of long-standing obstacles: high taxes, layers of overlapping regulations, and a land use system that can delay new development for years at a time. Companies often face extended timelines to secure property, navigate urban growth boundaries, and comply with prevailing wage requirements that drive up construction costs. At the same time, schools and public services that once attracted families and employers are struggling, with kindergarten through 8th grade test scores ranking among the lowest in the country. For many businesses, these pressures add up. Expanding elsewhere often feels simpler than staying and working through persistent challenges at home. The data now makes Oregon's problem clear. The state continues to attract new startups, but retaining its most successful homegrown companies has become the greater test. It is a retention issue that will influence Oregon's economic direction for years. Today, Oregon's business environment sits at a turning point, ranked 47th in business friendliness, while billions of dollars in investment flow out each year. As Dutch Bros looks beyond its home state, the takeaway is difficult to ignore. Talent and opportunity gravitate toward places that make room for growth. What comes next for Oregon's business community has yet to be written,